Chapter 4. In the eyes of the Federation, all that came from George's death was brief documentation and quick reassignment. My survival had earned me an unfortunate promotion to the rank of sergeant, which had me leading a small team of imbeciles in unimportant patrols along the border of the Felibron Desert, just south of my family's castle. I hated that they kept me so close to home, like an animal on a leash. It only took a couple of weeks of this busy work for my true purpose in Hanyem to manifest itself once more. This time in the form of a letter from one of my father's servants. He had invited me, along with my sibling, to a dinner back at the castle to celebrate Chuck's completion of his graduation trial. The boy was only 15, and he had already killed a man. I feared for Nicholas. The trip back was short in both time and distance, and I was eager to abandon the trapezoid-masked morons I had been forced to call my squad mates. I recall a time when one of them, my corporal, attempted to hunt a rat with arrows. By the time he was done, the rat had escaped, and his quiver of 10 arrows had run empty. While my family is cruel, at least they were competent enough to never be wasteful. Every action must always result in a victory or a purposeful loss. While I have yet to design my own, I imagine the process of constructing a castle to be full of opportunity and creative freedom. With an investment this huge, it would seem only right that no expense is spared. Details should be purposeful and ornate. Yet this castle was anything but. Large rectangular masses of cheap stone rested firmly atop one another to create an effect more reminiscent of a prison than a palace. The rain of this particular evening trickled down its sides like cheap paint, shimmering in the dim moonlight, as if the whole place were finally melting away.
"Welcome home, Zed."
Nick's voice comforted me for the first time in months. "Good evening, Nick," I greeted. "It truly is good to see you again." The more time that went on, the less I was without my helmet. Admittedly, more often than not, I find myself enjoying the ability to observe others without the danger of being observed. Nothing is ever too bright, and I am able to detach my mind from the reality of most situations. The latter has proven an invaluable ability for any servant of the Federation. However, I do wish I had taken it off at this moment, as Nick was the only person left I had any desire to appear human to. The static and menacing expression of the mask had a poignant effect on him.
"You too, Zed,"
he said, despite his inability to truly see me.
"We can wash your cape and polish your armor while you get changed if you'd like."
"No," I declined. "My armor is as clean as it can be, and no substance in Hanyem could wash blood out of Firan silk." It was true. The blood of George and his killers had become a permanent fixture at the cape's end. Some property within the silk seemed to bind it to the fibers, not even allowing it to rust. The vibrant and deep red helped to ground me.
"Oh, all right."
He nodded. I paused for a moment, as though I were a fumbling actor grasping at forgotten lines. "Thank you for offering, though, Nicholas." A fraction of his usual warmth returned to his face, and he disappeared into the castle. I followed briskly. Inside, a Felabrano servant led me back to my bedroom and presented me with a dark suit, a pair of dress shoes, an azure undershirt, and a long black tie. Once my armor was removed and racked, I reached for the shirt, only to have a small note fall from its folds. On it was a simple scribble that read, "Helmet 2." While I had expected it to appear foolish, upon further examination, the components of this strange outfit meshed quite nicely. It made me look far more sophisticated and mysterious than I truly was, which led me to conclude that my father must be trying to impress someone of importance tonight. Once I came down for dinner, all was as I expected. My father sat in his usual throne, appearing to have aged even more dramatically since I had last seen him. His flesh had such texture that I could have fooled a stranger into believing it was rotting right off his bones. He looked over at me, nodding somewhat approvingly at my appearance, and gesturing for me to sit. I took a seat next to Nick, who wore the same suit and a similar helmet, only smaller and lacking certain details. The Indigallo appeared less refined, and his stature seemed devoid of confidence. Across from us sat Autumn and Chuck, wearing the same suits, with Autumn in her helmet. Strangely, the recently graduated Chuck had not been given a helmet. Instead, he was adorned with only a shimmering Indigallo mouth and jaw covering, as well as a sleek matching visor in place of his usual shades. Though I will never admit this to him, even I had to accept that he looked somewhat cool.
"Knights,"
my father addressed,
"I reunite you here on this day to commemorate the graduation of Charles Aurum Jr. New knight, please rise, bow, and retake your seat."
We all nodded in unison, and Chuck did exactly as he was instructed, almost as though my father's words had possessed him into compliance.
"That is all for the commemoration,"
he said rather abruptly.
"Now, please welcome our guest, General Inkar Zeal, of the Indigallo Federation Army."
Based upon the adjustment of posture I noticed in all three of my siblings, I was not the only one to have not known of this. Sure enough, at that moment, a Federation officer in full uniform and armor stepped through the front door. Two of my father's Felabrano servants walked him inside and pulled back his chair. With a swift and rude hand motion from their master, they were dismissed. Inkar Zeal moved mechanically, as though he were calculating the most efficient way to make every motion as he took his seat at the end of the table. The rest of us did not dare move without instruction. His voice carried with a level of sophistication only found in north-central nobility.
"I am honored, Director Aurum."
I had heard much of this man before meeting him, as his position made him one of the most powerful people in Hanyam, only definitively below the king himself. With his brother Zhao Zeal as the admiral of the Indigallo Federation Navy, the Zeal family had influence on the same level as us Aurums. For most of Federation history, command positions had been idiotically reserved for strong warriors who knew little of leadership and tactics. The Zeal brothers were a change of pace from this, as they both got their starts in Federation intelligence under my father. Many Federation victories in the past several years can be attributed to this tactical reprioritization. Despite all of that, Charles Aurum remained motionless at the head of the table. He stared blankly at his guest for several seconds before starting up again.
To your left and right are my children, officially known as the Indigalo Knights.
My father's voice lacked the slightest indication of an emotion.
Please introduce yourselves.
I stood to speak first. Good evening, General Inkar Zeal. I am Sergeant Zed Aurum, and it is a pleasure to finally meet you. Inkar Zeal responded with as much eye contact as a man with a trapezoid mask can make with another in a knight's helmet.
The pleasure is all mine, Sergeant Aurum.
Greetings, General Inkar Zeal. I am Corporal Autumn Aurum.
Hello, General Inkar Zeal. I am Private Charles Aurum Jr.
Pleased to meet you, General Inkar Zeal. I am Private Nicholas Aurum.
All three of those ranks were news to me. It made sense that Chuck would be enlisted now, and Autumn's ascension through the ranks was fitting, but not Nick. This was not supposed to be happening. I turned to look at him, but the helmet prevented any chance of non-verbal communication. Once again, I feared for my brother. Once the uncomfortable introductions were over, my father began on the primary topic of the evening.
General, I wish to hear about your current campaign.
Even through his armor, it was clear that this line of questioning made the general uncomfortable.
My apologies, Charles, but I cannot discuss classified information in this setting. If you would like to have that conversation in private, I would happily oblige.
My father shook his head and played his next card.
There is no need for that, General. As of last week, everybody in this room has been granted clearance for all information pertaining to Minister Zebulan Alalo. So tell me everything.
By this point, the purpose of the meeting had become quite clear.
As you wish, sir.
Inkar yielded.
Months ago, Federation intelligence reported shipments of what they believed to be gilded indigalo arriving at the home of one Zebulon Alalo in East Felibron. Not long after that, Alalo was elected Minister of Felibron, and his home was expanded into a massive fortress. Internally, King Mynah Smith IX declared a state of emergency, and I sent 7 strike platoons in to retrieve the minister before his armaments could fully accumulate.
What strong leadership, Inkar.
My father jested.
What was it like commanding those troops on the battlefield?
The general was too smart to lie.
I command remotely, sir.
Oh, all right then.
Charles sighed.
How have they been doing on their own?
2 platoons have been confirmed to be destroyed by Felibrano defenses. We suspect another has as well, and I have lost contact with the other 4 in enemy territory. I am awaiting approval for reinforcements.
Zeal admitted. My father smiled and nodded, but I could tell he was disappointed by the general's lack of resistance. He was clearly hoping for more of a fight, but Zeal's honesty saved him the trouble.
Permission to speak, sir?
Asked Autumn.
Granted, Autumn.
Encouraged my father.
When do we deploy?
She asked, knowingly. Satisfaction glowed from his wrinkly face.
Every once in a while I'm made thankful for that pink-skinned savage who refused to drown you, Autumn. Thanks to my influence, you've truly become a credit to your sex.
Thank you, Father.
Autumn responded with the slightest hint of terror. The wrinkly sack of bones turned back to his victim and commanded,
Major Inkar Zeal, I'm coming out of retirement to usurp leadership over this headache of a campaign you have conducted. Tomorrow morning, you'll be traveling by Galalapotra to the fortress alongside this squad, led by my very own Sergeant Zed Aurum. Upon arrival, you will reinforce the remaining troops and launch an all-out attack. The Federation Navy has already moved in to intercept from the western coast, so it'll be your job to bring down Zebulon himself. If Minister Alalo is still alive in 48 hours, King Mynah Smith IX will execute you publicly in your home of Northrue. The plan for the ground attack is at your discretion to ensure you get a fair chance. Am I understood?
It felt as though Zeal had shrunk dramatically in his seat.
Yes, sir.
The Major paused for another moment.
Is the demotion official?
Charles looked exhausted, as if those orders had taken his final wind. Unfortunately, they had not.
No, it will only be announced if you survive. The main guest room is yours for the night. Major Zeal, good night, and best of luck to you all,
wished my father as he stood from his throne and slowly exited down the hall. The room remained silent until we heard the door close behind him. As soon as the coast was clear, the condemned major rose from his seat with an understandable amount of urgency.
I suppose I must get to planning and resting if possible,
said Zeal with a falsely calm tone.
I am glad to have gotten to meet you all. Good night.
He disappeared much faster than my father. I stared down at the reflection of my helmet in the empty plate. Nobody ate that night.
Isn't this great?
Egged Chuck.
Our first mission together.
Nick is too young, I stated, as if that was the only objectionable aspect of the next day's plan.
Father knows that, Zed.
Muttered Autumn.
And he knows it gets to you.
Nick finally chimed in.
So what are we going to do?
We're gonna kill some brutes and make names for ourselves,
shouted Chuck, punching his fists in the air with excitement at the idea of violence.
We are going to get some sleep,
corrected Autumn as she stood from her chair and disappeared down the hall.
Fine,
conceded Chuck, following her. Once they were gone, Nick turned to me.
It really will be fine, Zed. I may be young, but we both know I'm the most capable fighter my age in all of Hanyem.
He reassured to closed ears. You do not know how bad it is out there, Nick. I deflected. Felibron is a damn meat grinder for Federation troops. I've seen it for myself. As much as I would love to end every last dissident, I know how outnumbered we're going to be out there. I cannot be carrying dead weight. Nick moved back in his seat a little bit.
What did they do to you out there?
Panicking that I might show weakness, I jumped up from my seat with even more urgency than the Major had. Good night, Nicholas, I croaked, before storming off down the opposite hall. I placed my helmet on the bedside table, thankful for how it hid my tears, and collapsed into bed. Somehow, I was able to sleep that night, but my dreams remained haunted by both past and future.